Good morning and welcome to our webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about making an impact on agriculture students, secrets from successful users. So we're excited to really talk through and interact with different educators. What we're looking at and what we're talking about is really what do they do to help their students be successful in the classroom. And we're going to be looking at some fun different things today. One being talking about social media. How do you involve or include social media into your everyday teaching? We also are going to be talking with some educators about what different simulations that they use, and then we'll finish off talking about how they use them with different products from Realityworks. So as we go through here today, really, we have three objectives. We're going to talk to three different educators. We have Allie, we have Nathan, and we have Bryce. And they're going to be talking to us about how they use social media in classroom, videos, hands-on learning. We're going to talk about some of their favorite simulators that they have. And we're going to finish up with some free resources, some implementation guides for you to be able to think about how you could implement some products of Realityworks into your classroom. So to get started here, we're going to go in and talk with Allie here. And now all of our discussions have been pre-recorded for the best quality of video and for sound. So we're going to talk to them and ask them these questions and hear their answers as they are in the classroom and working with their students. So the first question we're going to be talking to our panel here today is, how do you incorporate social media to promote your class? So we'll start with Allie.
I use social media in my classroom very frequently. Not only do I use it to put out posts for our supporters, our alumni, our parents, and other teachers, but I also use it in my classroom to discuss different assignments. So I use it to mimic social media and allow the students to post what they would post. So we do different activities where they're able to make different Instagram pages. They make different Twitter accounts for different situations. I also have used social media to be able to show off what we are doing in the ag room. So I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes I don't see a lot of administrators in my end of the building. I don't see other teachers coming down to me. I'm kind of off on my own. And so it allows them to kind of get a glimpse into what's happening in your room and what your kids are doing without actually having to leave their offices.
So now we're going to talk with Nathan, and he's going to tell us kind of what he does. In his world, he has become a bigger, if you want to say, ag TikTok star. He uses a lot of different TikTok videos to really engage his students, but also to engage the general population to promote agriculture in general. And then we're going to talk with Bryce and how he is using it and the importance of using social media in the classroom.
As far as using social media in my classroom, it's been great for me with TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. TikTok, I post all kinds of crazy videos with everything I do in my classroom. And then with Instagram and Facebook, I have my own personal accounts, my Minnesota Ag teacher accounts, and then I also have school accounts where I'll post updates on what we're doing in the classroom every day. And that's really been helpful to get kids in the door. My TikTok in particular has been really helpful in getting kids in the door. Just posting videos of me using particularly my Realityworks products have been extremely popular, like in the millions of views every time I post one. That's been really nice getting kids involved in my program.
So for Nathan, getting kids involved in his program, getting people to see what they are doing in his ag classroom and the interest is a big feature of that. It's also just getting understanding within agriculture in general. Now, talking with Bryce here, let's hear what he has to say.
I would consider my unorthodox methods of teaching. And how do I do that? I do that through multiple social media platforms. I've always been a fan of just posting pictures on Facebook of what our students accomplish. That habit started back in my state FFA officer days in Colorado. Really using Facebook to market what is going on in not just my life, but the students' lives. But recently, I've learned that to really gain traction and interest in what you're teaching, not just in your community, but all around you and maybe all over the country, is to turn to other social media platforms, much like new aged ones like TikTok. In my classroom, I like to make these TikToks that really highlight what the students are learning and doing. I could really care less if anyone thinks I'm posting videos to show off my lessons or what I'm doing as a teacher. That's not my goal. These TikToks and all these videos that I put out there are made to really showcase what my students are able to do when they're given just a lesson or an activity and they're able to really take it to the next level. Being able to show their friends, family, community, and just complete strangers out there what really cool things these students are accomplishing. Um, that's what I believe TikTok's greatest feature is that there are students and teachers all over the country that are interested in learning more about these engaging activities. And they can do that through platforms like TikTok. They can see, and I can see what other ag teachers across the country are doing and incorporate that into my classroom. So we're very social media heavy here at Campbellsport Ag Department. Both my co-teacher and I, we really utilize our Instagram page, our Facebook page, and our TikTok to really just encase and show everyone around us the really amazing things that our students are doing. We just provide them with an opportunity, and hopefully we can provide them with all the resources they need. But it's really what they're doing that makes it a cool process.
So the next question we asked them was, how do you incorporate simulation in your classroom? So getting that social media part of your class is very important, but it's also important to be able to show off what you're doing in the classroom. How do you use social media, and how important is social media in your classroom as you work with your students?
The kids really like to use hands-on learning tools in the classroom. It's a lot better than doing paper pencil stuff all the time. Getting these hands-on experiences is just great for them. A lot of the kids who I get in my classes don't like doing the bookwork type stuff. So having these opportunities for them to be able to do hands-on stuff is awesome.
I believe that the best part in taking an agricultural class is practicing what your teacher is instructing. It allows our students to have more fun that way. It gets them engaged. It gets them involved. Simulation in my program looks like anything from using the bovine breeder from Realityworks and letting them practice their AI skills to letting my students build their own life-size ewe lamb model and practicing laparoscopic artificial insemination practices where they had to recreate a video of the how-to steps that took everything from putting the cedar in all the way through the surgical process of laparoscopic artificial insemination. Another simulated experience is letting the kids practice ear notching before they get their hands on the live litter of pigs that we're able to have in our animal lab. With this, our students go and they go and learn how to ear notch, read all the numbers, put the numbers in, and they'll notch on a piece of paper cut out like a pig's ear that's on a headband. Those kids then get to put in their assigned ear notch, and then they go around the room and try to read their classmates' ear notches. This is just a great experience for them to learn how to read and how to notch those ears before they get that live hands-on experience. So we do a lot of simulated experiences in our classroom. For me, simulation is key to keeping the students engaged. And honestly, it makes my day as an educator even better because it makes it more fun. It's not as mundane. I don't have to just sit here and stand at the front of the room and lecture or watch them do worksheets. The more hands-on activities that I can get these students to do, the better. The more simulation experiences, the better. They learn and attribute skills that they can take and apply later on down the road. But one of the best parts about using different simulation tactics in the classroom is then being able to put out to the public what I would consider my unorthodox methods of teaching.
My students find using the hands-on models and simulators to allow them to explore what we are learning about and make it more of a concrete skill rather than an abstract thought. Without the use of the hands-on models, Realityworks or not, my students seem to struggle to comprehend the lessons. So I have used other models in the past where I've actually created them myself, or I have come up with something that would mimic something that Realityworks would make. Obviously, they don't work as well, but even using something like that, my students would be able to grasp a little bit more. They were able to get more of that knowledge to sink in just by doing the hands-on portion. It makes the world of difference. My students have taken what they've learned in class and applied it at home on their own farms. I had a student so proud come in and tell me about how he pulled a calf. After using the birthing model, he said it was a lot easier because the cow was pushing with him. But they're able to take what they learn in class and use it at home on the farm, and they are so proud of that, and they're so eager to tell you about it when they get back.
I love the example that Allie gives here about students actually being able to not only do it and see that they did it well, but the pride that comes in, the excitement of trying it, and then having that confidence level to be able to go and do the real thing. So simulation brings that into your classroom. It allows them then to have that confidence level to do it at the highest level, the real thing. And so that's another area where all three of these teachers are talking and incorporating how important that simulation, that hands-on learning really is for their students. So we're going to now go and ask them, what Realityworks products do you use within your classroom? And the interesting thing here is yes, we have a lot of different ag education products that are user-friendly and hands-on learning, but one of the things that I would really like to hope that you hear is how they are incorporating what they're doing in the simulation world before they do the real thing. So as we talk to them, as they kind of talk about what products have helped them in their classrooms, really listen for not only what products, but how they are incorporating them in the classroom here.
So as far as what products I use in my classroom that are Realityworks, I have the Realityworks tractor pull challenge that I use. And I also have the bovine breeder and the swine breeder simulators as well. For the simulations, I like to use the bovine breeder to introduce palpating a cow before actually going out to a farm and doing it on a real animal, which we do every year in animal science. But using the bovine breeder simulation just helps soften the blow to kids. Like, they don't have to go and do it on a real cow right away. And we learn the anatomy of everything and what they're going to be feeling for. So that's a really great way to introduce the topic to kids. And with the swine breeder, we don't have any pig farms in the area that we can go out to and actually do these procedures on. So it's really nice to have the swine breeder to be able to help assist with a birth or do artificial insemination without actually having an animal at our disposal.
For one, we use the bovine breeder, the large cow model, as well as the multiple cervixes kit. Each of these resources have provided our students with both hands-on and simulated experiences, as well as an in-depth and comprehensive educational experience. The bovine breeder is a great example of being able to practice the skills and knowledge it takes to breed a live animal, but without the risk of harming or being harmed by a live animal, which makes it a great win for insurance and liability for most schools. I believe that this is one of the greatest aspects of what Realityworks does. What Realityworks does is provide students the opportunity to experience skills that they may not be able to in or out of the classroom. I was very fortunate where I went to high school, where I had a semester-long beef reproduction course. The final for this class was that you had to AI 3 heifers that the ag program bought for every student in the class. And as a teacher, we all wish that we had the resources, the money, the land, the buildings to be able to provide those kind of experiences for our students. But that's the beauty of Realityworks, is the fact that even though we can't get that live on hands experience with those live cattle, we have something that we can bring into the classroom and allow our students to practice on and get those skills, again, without getting in harm's way or harming a live animal. It makes a great simulated experience.
I have a variety of different Realityworks models, and I incorporate them into my different classes. I teach Introduction to Agriculture, Agriculture Science, which is a semester of plant science and a semester of animal science. I teach Horticulture, Vet Science, Ag Business, and Ag Engineering. And if you were counting, that's 6 different classes. I incorporate my simulators in a variety of different ways into these classes. My Introduction to Agriculture kids, when we are talking about animal science, we go over the swine litter processing, and we also do the calf simulator, especially when we're discussing veterinarian practices that happen to these animals, such as castration. I use the cow model for different anatomy portions and the bovine udder simulator when we are discussing the CMT testing during our dairy portion. We also use our soybean plant model, our corn stalk model, and our corn grain model during our plant science unit when we're discussing the parts of the plant. We use our Guide Weld VR welding simulator and the Real Career Weld Defects classroom kit for our mechanics unit. I do let them go out into the shop in the spring, so it does give me a sense of relief to know that we are practicing on our VR simulator rather than sticking them straight in the booth. A lot of my students do not have prior knowledge to welding, so it puts me and their parents and themselves at ease. My agriculture science courses use the bovine fetal development models, the bovine breeder, and the swine breeder during our reproduction unit. We also use the milking udder simulator to practice our California mastitis test, and we switch into plant science. We use the corn stalk, the soybean plant, the corn grain, and the dicot flower models. My vet science class has grown a lot from the use of these simulators. They were the class that I initially thought of when we were discussing purchasing a majority of these. So we use the birthing and ultrasound simulator, the bovine fetal development models, and the bovine and swine breeders when we're discussing reproduction technology, as well as a recap of reproduction from their animal science. We use the canine vet trainer and the bovine injection simulator when practicing our injection IVs and blood draws. And when we discuss anatomy, we use the dissected fetal pig model prior to doing dissections of our own. It gives the students a little bit of practice prior to cutting into a real pig, and it gives them an idea of what to expect without worrying that they're going to mess something up. We also use the cow model with our anatomy unit to talk about the different parts of the digestive system and how they differ from monogastric to ruminant. My agriculture engineering class uses the RC tractor pull challenge when discussing force, motion, and friction. We use the welding simulator and the weld defects and joints kits to help students prior to allowing them to weld. We use the measurement math training kit for help with construction, and we also use the Real Career electrical wiring kit when we discuss electricity. All in all, I've incorporated Realityworks curriculum into not one, but a majority of my classes. And I'm very excited to try to find things to incorporate more into my agriculture business curriculum.
The last few pieces of this and really discuss with you ways that you can promote your program as well. So in this case, just want to summarize some of the things that were talked about here and ways to promote from TikTok, kind of the new wave of social media. Snapchat, TikTok are those newer waves that younger generations are looking at and seeing, and the interest there. You heard talk about Facebook and Instagram, maybe a little older generation, but again, a great platform, especially for maybe not just the students who are interested, but the parents who are wanting to know what's going on. Other people in the community want to know what's going on within the program. It's a great piece to be able to promote and to show within your program. So some of these different opportunities and options here, for some teachers, it might be a little scary or a little concerning, or, how do I best use it? Now, I want to talk just a little bit about that as well. Within the world of social media, a great way to kind of work with your administration, work with your community, is that these types of social media platforms are already out there. So working with your teachers, working with your students to know how best to use them, how to use them in the most appropriate fashion. Work with your students to promote and to kind of bring this into this world. And if you're talking ag business, every business out there is using social media today. So incorporating this into your classroom. Now, these teachers talked about different ways they use social media, and they are exciting and fun to watch. It brings an excitement to their classroom. It brings that engagement to their students, and they do it by bringing simulation, bringing that hands-on learning, and then talking and showing about it to the rest of the world. So these are great examples here, and just to kind of promote it a little bit more, TikTok is a pretty user-friendly option. I myself have started using it with some of the products that we have here at Realityworks, and it's been a very easy, very seamless, 20, 30-second little snippet. You can add music, you can add words, and all of a sudden you have a fun little video that shares something that is interesting to you in your classroom. It also is something where if you don't feel you're the most tech savvy, I get that. Your students are. They're probably already using these platforms. It is another way to engage your students. Have them take the videos. Have them, for different projects, have a recorder, have somebody who's a reporter who's actually taking those videos and incorporate them into using it, and then have them create it for you as well. This is one of those places where our students are probably much have much larger expertise than we have ourselves as educators, as older generation educators. So in this case, have them do the work for you. Let them work on different ways that they can incorporate, these different platforms. The other thing that you can do is we have our realityworks.com website there. Feel free to go and look at the different products that are there. As was talked today, as we try to give you just some insight to different teachers using and ways to promote your program, this is one of those things that the ability to share this and show this is something that I guess the way I should put it is, as I think it was Bryce who said it, was get out there and see what other people are doing. What other videos are out there, how they're showing. And the great thing about this is it's not a self-promotion. It's really looking and saying, oh, what's happening throughout the world of agriculture education? How can I use that to be able to create new opportunities for my own students? What are some things that are happening that, wow, that looks really fun, I want to incorporate? All of this then hopefully will bring you to not only promote your program, but engage students, get them interested, increase their interest, and show that, you know what, there's a lot of fun, a lot of interesting, a lot of great learning going on in agriculture education. So with that said, we want to take a little time for questions. So if you have some questions, feel free to ask your questions. And if there's anything else that we can do to help you as you promote, feel free to email and be in touch with us as you go. So again, visit our website, realityworks.com. You can join us on our social media as well, but want to really just see different ways that we can help you promote ag education in your world.
And so while we have Allie, Bryce, and Nathan, I do have a question. What would you three tell teachers who want to incorporate new teaching methods and student engagement ideas, but are worried they don't have enough time? So Allie, do you have a response for that?
Absolutely. Do not reinvent the wheel. You can find a lot of this stuff online or emailing one of us. I'm sure that we would all be willing to share. When I first started teaching, it was all about beg, borrowing, and stealing. And so I highly recommend those three things of begging, borrowing, and stealing, and definitely not reinventing the wheel and allowing other people to help you out.
Awesome. Bryce, do you have any advice?
But yeah, I think going back, just talking about don't try to reinvent the wheel. Like what was just said, one great thing about ag teachers is we're kind of a big family. One of my great mentors back in Wyoming when I was going to school always talked about how ag teachers are a family until we're at an FFA competition where we want to stomp a hole in the mud with each other. But then as soon as that competition is done, we're back to being a family again. So please, reach out to any experienced ag teacher. And honestly, sometimes your new first year ag teachers have some really great things too. So vice versa to veteran teachers. Reach out to those new guys and see what kind of weird, funky ideas they have that you can incorporate into your room as well.
Thank you. And Nathan, any advice for ag teachers out there?
I would just echo what these other two have said with not reinventing the wheel. Ag teachers are a pretty good community. We'll share anything we got. So that no need to spend your time making something that's already there.
Another question that popped up was, what skills are learned with the RC tractor pull? And Jamie, I don't know if you want to take this one, or Nathan, I know that you just got the RC tractor, so I'm not sure. Jamie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can jump in, and then Nathan, feel free to jump if you have some thoughts on top of it. But, the great thing about the tractor pull is that it gives students that hands-on learning where they can take it apart. So there's different tire sizes. So you can try different tire sizes. You can do different gear ratios, the different places for weights to be put on it. So you can work on, equilibrium. You can do hitch heights changes. So there's a lot of different things there that allow students to work with those different kind of variables. And in that, then you're talking about torque, you're talking about friction, you're talking about energy, you're working with all those things in the classroom. And then there's competition mode too, where then you compete against each other to see who has the best knowledge base of those different parts and pieces in that world. So there's a lot of different opportunities to use it in the classroom. Those are kind of some. And then I have to say with this, thank you everyone for being on the call, because There are just so many different options that you can take these things and go your own way and create your own path. So, there's other options that maybe I haven't even thought of that you can use it for, but that hopefully gives a little bit of insight.
Nathan, anything else you have to add on the RC tractor? I know that you just got it a little over a month ago and you've been playing with it a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't used it in class yet, but I've had some kids who have had free time use it, and just the variety of different factors that you can showcase with those tractors is just awesome. Just to show how weight distribution affects the tractor, the hitch height. They're pretty cool little toys, little devices.
Awesome. Another question that came in regarding using social media. Has there been any kickback from admin on using social media? And if so, have any of you had to overcome that obstacle?
I have had a little bit of kickback on using social media, especially when you're taking pictures of the kids in the classes. One thing that I do is I have a photo and video waiver that our school's lawyer has drawn up, and the kids sign, the parents sign, they decide whether they do or do not want their picture and their work shared. They decide what level. And then I always tell my kids at the beginning, like, if you do not want your picture taken, you're going to have to remind me, because once I get going, I just take a lot of pictures. So after having it all signed off, we've had no problems this far. Fingers and toes are crossed on that, but I just make sure that the parents and students all know that they're going to be photographed, videoed, and that it will end up on the school website, the school social media, and the FFA's social media.
I think in my corner of the world, I didn't have any kickback from administration. They think it's awesome that we're attracting people to what's going on in our school and our ag program. My principal was a little upset one day because one of my TikToks was, my principal is not a agricultural being at all, grew up in downtown Milwaukee, always in the big city, doesn't know a lot about agriculture. And one of my very first TikToks that kind of went off was about my principal that overheard a conversation between me and my co-teacher about ordering bull semen and the facial expression that he made. So he came back and made fun of me for making fun of him on social media. But I think the big thing is just keep it professional, the way that you would your own social media pages, your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that stuff. You're still a professional in a highly viewed profession where lots of people are watching all the time, and if you're putting that extra stuff out there, you're getting extra attention and extra eyes watching. I would just remind people, if you're going to start making TikToks and videos and posts about your students and yourself in your classroom, just to remain as professional as possible.
And as far as my administration goes, my principal laughs whenever he hears about how many views my videos are getting. He just shakes his head and laughs. And I don't ever post any pictures of kids on my Minnesota Ag teacher accounts, but on my Watertown Mayor FFA accounts, then I'll post pictures of kids. And we have implied consent at our school. So if a kid doesn't want their picture taken, they have to go and fill out a form. Otherwise, it's just a blanket consent. So we can take as many pictures as we want and post them on our school social media pages.
Awesome. And then another question on social media. How do you share your social media videos and pictures? Do you share them on your personal pages, or do you guys have a way of emailing them out to your admin and teachers? How do each of you share that?
So we have a newsletter that I also link all of our social media to, so that it's a quick scan. Teachers are able to see some of the pictures and whatnot, but if they want to follow, a lot of our teachers do follow us on Facebook. And then I do have the share options on. So I always share my own posts just to get it out to the people that I know aren't following our page, and just kind of show them what I've been up to, what we've been doing in the classroom. But a majority of the time, the teachers are already following us, and I send out that newsletter to them and admin, and they follow along that way.
I'd say it's pretty similar and simple. Just posting to our Campbell Sport FFA Facebook page, and then usually just sharing it to my own personal page. I'm kind of in a different scenario. I grew up in Colorado and Wyoming, and I ended up out here in Wisconsin. So there's really not a need for a lot of people from back home to want to follow our FFA Facebook page, just because they aren't going to be attending any of the events and the stuff that we promote on there. But they do enjoy seeing it on just my personal page. So I always make sure to share to, the Facebook story, Instagram story, just share the posts that I make through my own personal page as well, once it's on our FFA page.
And I'm pretty similar to what those two have said too. I'll post stuff on the FFA pages that I have on Facebook and Instagram, and then I'll share those posts on my personal profiles just to help get the posts out there.
So I'm going to ask you guys a question. As a novice, or I would say, I consider myself that newbie in the TikTok world. I'm just starting to kind of get it and understand. And I'm going to say this for us who don't have all that knowledge. What do you do? How did you get started into that world? To maybe where you are now. Are there certain tips or tricks in the sense of, let's say your first social media post to where you are now? How do I get to the notoriety that you guys have? What do you do to kind of start and build upon it to get bigger and bigger? Do you have any thoughts on that?
So I am not on TikTok yet. I have kind of been holding out. I'm not quite sure why. But my kids have been all about it. They share, like I told them today that I was going to do this, and I told them that we were going to be talking with the Minnesota Ag teacher, and they lost their mind. So I do need to hop on that train. But as for our Facebook, our Twitter, our Snapchat, Instagram, that sort of things, I make sure to tag community members, definitely let them know what's going on, and continue to support our kids and explain to them how they're able to support our kids.
So I guess we're in the same boat. We both want autographs from some of the people on this call right now, huh, Allie?
Absolutely, yes.
I think Nathan is probably the one most likely to answer about how to get the most followers, because he seems to have the magic formula. But I always told myself that I would never make one. I never even wanted to download the app the first time my students started talking about TikTok when I first started teaching in 2019. And I told myself never make one, and then I ended up doing one. Some kids thought it was funny, and it actually got a couple of kids that wanted to join my class because they're like, wow, that guy's cool. He's like young and hip, which I am, like a 90-year-old trapped in a 27-year-old's body typically. But for me, I think the magic formula for getting more followers is to post the kind of weird stuff that we do in the agricultural classroom, like using the bovine breeder. That was my first video that got up into the over millions of views when I was using the bovine breeder. So just kind of showcasing off those kind of weird, quirky things that only happen in the ag room. So far as what I've seen, gets the most followers. But like I said, I think Nathan is the best one to ask on that one.
So I don't know that I have a magic formula. I never wanted to download TikTok. My wife had it and she kept trying to show me videos, and I always told her it was just a silly little TikTok app. But then COVID hit and I got bored, and I started making videos, and it snowballed from there. And I echo what Mr. Funk said about using the odd things we do in the ag classroom, posting stuff about that seems to get the most engagement, and it gets kids interested.
Another question I had for you is, and for all of you is, I'm always intrigued by the simulation world, and how you guys have included that, the hands-on learning. Can you talk a little bit about that, in the sense of, I know you don't always do social media with your students, but kind of going off that same thing, how have you seen that engagement come from the social media or from the simulation world, where maybe you brought more students in or they've learned that? Do you have any stories or just some insight for other teachers out there too of, continue to use that simulation? Because it does, I think we hear, it does bring students to engage. It does maybe add students to your classes because they know that's going to be a part of it. Have you seen that as well in your worlds?
Absolutely. So as much of the wow and the gross factor as you can bring in, I feel like that really pulls kids to you. For freshman orientation, we had some of our models, some of our simulators sitting out, and the kids were able to kind of play with them a little bit, get to know like what classes we use them for, what we're doing them with. But even before I had some of the simulators, I just got a majority of my simulators in last year. And so before then, I was making my own models, and using red jello in a balloon to simulate castration was like my lab of the year. And it had all the kids talking throughout the entire school. And so any of that wow or gross factor, I feel like really gets chatter going.
I've got my simulator sitting in front of a window that goes into my hallway, so kids can walk by and see the swine breeder and the bovine breeder just sitting there. And that really gets kids in the door because they have no idea what it is, and they'll just be super confused. Then they'll come in and ask questions, and that helps them get them in the door and hopefully sign up for my classes in the future too.
I mean, along those same lines, the more kind of weird stuff you do, like using the bovine breeder, for some reason, the weird attracts all the kids. But even some of the other stuff, like one of my biggest things I do every year is my mock bull sale auction. And for some reasons, the kids just really get a kick out of participating in an auction where I'm standing at the front of the room, auctioneering off, rambling off numbers as fast as I can. And I have one kid usually participate as the ring man, so they're yelling and hooping and hollering at who's got the live bid going. So yeah, just those things that kind of get them out of the normal classroom routine.
Well, thank you for that, because I think that's something where it's so fun to hear how you talk about, hey, it's the weird, it's those things that really probably grab all of our attention at some point of what's that about, which creates curiosity, creates that want to know more, which really is another way to get students learning, and so to get students to understand and get that skill development. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being on this call and be a part of this. I think the last thing I just want to echo is that thought of that was talked about too, of hey, go out and look at what other people are doing, because that can help. It's that thing of find what is working for educators out there, and then try to emulate that, to repeat that, because that just helps us as educators to become better, and our students to learn more. So just want to say thank you, and with that, I'll pass it over to Emily to kind of finish it out here.